You've probably heard this phrase before, and it's this: it's easier to stay in shape than it is to get into shape. It's easier to stay in shape than it is to get in shape. And I find this so very true. I think it might be beneficial to look at your health and fitness at times in seasons. And I think not only your health and fitness, but all aspects of your life. Some season it's really about furthering your career and going hard for a couple of years. Some it's to focus really on yourself and make yourself a priority and get comfortable being alone and saying no to dating. You might have a season of life that looks like that. And then obviously you have a season of your life where you go really hard in regards to your health and fitness, because it's beneficial to see light at the end of the tunnel. Because I know when we work with women and they have all this weight to lose, I think sometimes this negative thought that they carry in the back of their mind is, oh my gosh, I'm losing weight, I'm seeing progress, but am I going to have to work this hard the rest of my life? And it seems very daunting and dark, and they question, there's like no way I can kind of keep this up for the next 10, 20, 30 plus years. And I would agree with them. And I'm not saying you have to go 110%. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, a season in health and fitness might look like saying no much more than you say yes. And when we work with women 12, 18, 24 months, they work with us inside our program, they begin to have this identity and they view themselves as a very fit and active person who moves their body. They're active, they work out, they eat right. And once they've done that for 12, 18, 24 months, it becomes a core identity of theirs and what they do. And it is truly sustainable long term. For example, for me, the way that I look now and the amount of muscle that I carry, it was really due to two seasons in my life. In college, when my baseball career was over, it was really the first time where I could go into the gym and train to look really, really good. There was no sports performance method of training. I was just going in and basically like training like a bodybuilder and trying to look the best I possibly could at that phase in my life and gain as much muscle as I possibly could. And it was fun for me because ever since I was 11, 12 years old, I've always trained for whatever sports I was playing. And I remember for a year and a half, I was working at a bar in college, and basically I was going to school. I was working at this bar, and I was like training for 2-3 hours every single day. And I did that for probably a year and a half, and I packed on a lot of muscle. And I really learned how to train what worked for my body. And that was a season. I remember, like, my nutrition was really good. I wasn't really drinking that much. And that really has helped me long term. The second circumstance was my last about year in the corporate world. I kind of knew that I wasn't going to be there forever. And I got to a point where I stopped saying yes to happy hours and going out with my friends every weekend. And I really leaned into fitness. I joined this super nice gym in Chicago that was just a block away from me. They had every piece of equipment. I mean, it was like it's basically like a country club, but for health and fitness. It was super, super bougie, super nice. And I basically like lived there. I spent hours upon hours on weekends. I'd spend 4 or 5 hours there, lifting, eating, cardio, swimming, hot tub, cold plunge, sauna, steam room. And that's probably the second phase when I was like in my mid 20s where I gained some serious muscle again. And again, started to learn different things about my body and how to train, what was working for me. And since then, I've really been on cruise control. I've had maybe short periods where I've went really hard and such. But if you look at my physique now and my foundational habits and the way that I train, it really comes back to those two periods in my life. So it was really been, maybe 2.5, 3 years of going really, really hard and making my health and fitness my number one priority out of 30 plus years of my life. And I've seen that firsthand, and I've seen that with women that we work with. Like, if you can just make your health and fitness a priority for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and get into really good shape, hit your goal weight, get to where you want to be, Once you're there, and the person that you became to get there, you've had to be consistent. You've built the right habits. You have the right mindset, or else you wouldn't have been successful. Right. And then once you know how to do something, it's much harder to lose it. Not to say like it would be impossible to gain the weight back. It could be, right? But your odds are much, much, much higher because you've dedicated a season of your life to make your health and fitness number one, or a very, very high priority. And then you can just hit cruise control from there and keep things in check. So I wanted to say this because I do find that people get in this headspace of like, oh my gosh, I'm losing weight, this is working, but they have this in the back of their mind, like, am I going to have to work this hard the rest of my life? And my answer is probably not. But you got overweight, you became overweight over 5, 10, 20 plus years of not doing the right things. It's going to take time to recalibrate your lifestyle and recondition your mind and your habits. And it takes some time. But once you can dial it in and you get to where you want to be and you make it a priority for a period of time and you get in good shape, it's much easier to maintain that, because oftentimes too, it's this fear. We're driven more by fear than anything as humans. And once you have a season of your life where you get in great shape, you've lost the weight, you have this fear and this motivation in the back of your mind where you're like, I never want to go back. I never want to be 50 pounds heavier like I was, or I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. I had no energy. My entire body hurt. So you'll do anything to stay away from pain. And that fear is always in the back of your mind. And then it's much easier to cruise once you're already in good shape. So I do find that to be true. I've seen that with women that we work with for a long time in our program, where check in with them a year, 2 years after they finish. I'll see an Instagram post or a Facebook post and they're still in great shape. And it's because they dedicated a year to 2 years, maybe 3 years in a season of their life where their health and fitness was a top priority. And because they did that, long term, they can go on cruise control. They understand what they need. They've built some pretty good habits. They probably still have a little bit of structure and routine, even when life gets crazy, and they're good to go. And that's the whole goal. So my point of making this is like, losing weight is hard. You definitely have to make some changes. It's really hard when you first start. And I know those thoughts creep in your mind where it's like, am I going to have to work this hard the rest of my life to get in shape? But the answer is no. Once you get in shape, it's much easier to stay in shape than it is to get to where you want to be. And I feel like that's an important thing to understand and say. So see you on the next one.